Right, today's video is on how to change a valve in a mixer tap. So here's a mixer tap today. We've got a basin mixer. So the valve is underneath the handle, just in here. So regardless of whether it's a wall mixer, sink mixer or basin mixer like this one, the valve is always just under the handle. So the tools we need for today's valve swap: 2.5mm Allen key, torque wrench, or a shifting spanner. You also want to make sure that you've got a towel handy. Right, so step one is to turn the water off. Now you can turn it off at the mains out the front of the house, or turn it off underneath the basin if there's isolated taps under there. Next step is to release the pressure from the tap. So we turn the handle on and release the pressure until there's no more water flowing out of the valve. Next step is to remove the handle. So on this model we're going to unscrew the pin, put that in a safe place so it doesn't damage anything. Fastening for the handle is down this little hole here, so we use our 2.5mm Allen key, insert it in there, undo the grub screw until the handle's loose, pull the handle off the top. Right, the next step is to remove this domed cover here. This is just a decorative cover over the top of the lock nut for the valve. So remove that by hand, anti-clockwise to loosen. Remove that, put it in a safe place. Then we're left with this lock nut here. So we're going to need to remove this to be able to get our valve out. So I'm going to use the spanner, place it on the hexes there, unscrew it. It's loose, you can use your hands to unscrew it. Before we pull the valve out, we're going to get our towel. Make sure we've got our towel handy. When you pull the valve out, there may be a few drips of water around here. May need to just dry it off. So now this is our old valve. Now we need to get our new valve. So this lock nut here is loose on the top. You can remove that. Get our new valve. So we've got it here. Place the lock nut back over the top. Now when we put this valve back into the tap, we need to make sure we remember these little lugs here. Now those have got corresponding holes in the body of the tap, and they are meant to line up. So you drop it in, house them down. Once it's down, screw the lock nut back up by hand. Now just be careful, as some of these threads on this lock nut can be sharp. Do it up, and we tighten up the lock nut with our spanner or our torque wrench. Now if we've got a torque wrench, we want to set the torque on 8 Newton meters. Once the lock nut's down tight enough, make sure the valve is off, so off is straight up with the stem. Turn the water back on and see that there's no leaks around this join line between the brass lock nut and the body of the tap. If there are leaks, we may need to tweak up the valve lock nut a little bit until the leak stops. Next stage is we'll just put our dome cover straight back on, so that goes on there, thread it on the lock nut, straight down until it's tight. Handle back on. Tighten the handle onto the stem of the valve. Pin back in. Now we want to, just before we leave the site, we want to just lift the handle just a little bit to release the air from in the lines out the tap before we turn it on to full pressure. Once all the air bubbles are out of the line, we can lift it on to full pressure. Thank you.